Congresswoman Mαλλιωτάκη, thank you very much for being with Air tonight. We're on the third week of Trump administration's tenure here in Washington. There's a growing concern that President Trump's willingness to pose a budgetary axe on various different organizations could cause severe problems to low-income people, public servants, etc. Aren't you afraid of the consequences such a move would bring to the economy and the society?
Look, here in the United States, we have a $37 trillion debt.
Yeah.
And for years, too many people in politics have tried to appease all sorts of groups by spending money and trying to satisfy individuals. What we've found is that a lot of this money is being wasted. It's not going to its intended purpose. And so what President Trump is trying to do is rein in the federal bureaucracy, trying to right-size government agencies, trying to cut waste and abuse and fraud in some cases. So the taxpayer, who works very hard for this money, is respected, and that their money is actually being used for the things that they expect it to be used for. So I support President Trump in trying to right-size our federal government, to cut this bureaucracy, and to eliminate waste, fraud, and abuse from government programs. We don't anticipate that a lot of what he's doing will actually affect benefits. He's made it very clear programs like Medicare and Social Security will not see benefits change for its recipients. What he's trying to do is cut down on some of this abuse and waste that we're seeing, and money that is going all over the world, not just here in the United States, all over the world, and not achieving results.
Don't you worry that people who are doing their job in a good manner might lose their own job in these organizations?
Well, I think what we're trying to do is get a hold of our government. I think what people don't recognize is that you have people who are unelected federal bureaucrats who are making decisions on how your tax dollars are being spent. And they're spending it on all sorts of purposes that are not what the taxpayers intended, right? And so I think people support the president in his quest to root out corruption, to root out waste, and to root out abuse of tax dollars. So that way people who truly are deserving of these tax dollars are the ones who receive them. When you see a program like USAID, and they have 10,000 employees, the question is, what are those 10,000 employees doing? And how are they spending our tax dollars? And unfortunately, we've tried to bring this organization before our committee to get answers, to try to find out what the metrics are of success, and they have not been able to provide that. And so it is time for them to be held accountable and making sure that the taxpayers' money is being used wisely and it's not continuing to grow our $37 trillion debt, which is just completely unsustainable.
There's also a plan on imposing tariffs to a number of countries like China, but also the European Union too. Most economists predict inflationary pressures on most of the economies in the US, in Europe, in Asia, etc. Don't you think that this is also a problem affecting the middle class everywhere, inflation?
Well, the inflation that we've been facing is because of some of the reckless spending that we've seen from the previous administration, which is exactly why I pointed out why President Trump is trying to curb some of that unnecessary spending that has increased our debt significantly. Now, tariffs potentially could have an effect, but when we saw President Trump issue tariffs on Chinese steel, for example, it did not have that inflationary effect that people were concerned about. So it really depends on the situation. Also, I believe a lot of these tariffs can be avoided, and we just saw how the president has used tariffs to try to get a better deal for the American people. I mean, he's tried to get some changes out of our neighboring countries, Canada and Mexico. The tariffs have not gone into effect, yet we're seeing changes being made that have avoided those tariffs, like the border security measures that both Mexico and Canada have put in place. And so I don't know if there will be tariffs necessarily to the EU. He has not specifically said anything. He has said that he may, but perhaps those will be avoided as well. So what I'll just say is that I think President Trump is doing what he thinks is in the best interest of the United States of America, and the American taxpayer, and that he's going to try to use any foreign policy and domestic policy to benefit our American citizens.
Talking the last couple of days to a lot of people here in Washington, I hear a lot this, take Trump seriously, but not literally. And then I also read the madman theory, resembling, the Nixon era. I wanted to listen to your take. For example, his plan about the Gaza Strip. Do you think it's feasible?
Well, we're still waiting to see what exactly those details will be, so it's hard to say until we have more information. But what I would say is President Trump, if you look at his first term, he governed by peace through strength. We did not have any new wars started. We saw our allies and adversaries respect the United States. We were in a much better situation, I think, globally than we were when Joe Biden took office, and we saw so many things happen, from the debacle of the Afghanistan withdrawal to Israel being attacked by Hamas, to Russia invading Ukraine, things that did not happen under President Trump. In fact, President Trump brought, like I said, peace through strength. We saw the Abraham Accords. We saw Israel develop very important strategic, economic, military security partnerships with allies in the region that they never had before. And so I think that sometimes people may, think that a proposal that President Trump puts out there may not be good, but then when they hear the details and it's all flushed out and they see the results, then they recognize he was very smart and strategic in what he did. And I think you've seen that with a number of foreign policy decisions he's made to date. Colombia said they weren't going to take back their illegal criminal migrants, and he threatened to impose tariffs. They took them back right away. Mexico and Canada said that they were going to retaliate with tariffs, and then within 24 hours they changed their mind and said that they were going to cooperate to secure our border and stop the flow of illegal immigrants, as well as fentanyl that's killing 100,000 Americans annually. So what I would say is don't just look at the title of what a proposal might be, but wait until you get the actual details and maybe even the results to see that he was right all along.
Regarding the U.S.-Greek relationship, do you sense that the Trump administration is looking to somehow, continue working on its development?
Absolutely. I think that there's so many members of the Greek diaspora that are friends and supporters of President Trump. And if we look again to his first term, I think the relationship was much stronger than it has been over the last 4 years. I think the Biden administration has made some critical mistakes. I think that leveraging, I should say, NATO and countries entering NATO with Turkey was not smart to do. I think that also selling jets to Turkey was not smart to do. I think that there's sometimes where Turkey is an ally, but sometimes they act as an adversary. And to reward them with selling them new military equipment and upgrades for jets, I don't think that was the proper thing to be doing. So
Turkey won't be included in the F-35 program?
Well, they're included in the existing program, the upgrades of the F-16s. What I'm trying to say is that I don't think that they should have agreed to upgrading the F-16s and to selling new military equipment under the previous administration. Particularly when we saw how Turkey has embraced Hamas, the way Turkey has interrupted counter-ISIS operations of the United States, and the way that they've also became ally of Russia in the war against Ukraine. So I would say that we were better off with the policies of the Trump administration. I think one area where Greece and the United States can truly strengthen its relationship under this current administration is the energy sector. Europe, all of Europe, wants to reduce its dependency on Russia, and this is a perfect opportunity with President Trump wanting to ramp up domestic energy production. This is a great opportunity for us to not only be energy independent, but to be helpful to our allies who want to meet that goal of completely weaning off Russian oil. And so I think that's one area where we can certainly see our partnership strengthen.
If there's a crisis in the Aegean Sea, is President Trump the person that somebody from Athens could pick up the phone and resolve the situation?
I think that President Trump is someone who will be a great ally to Greece and to Cyprus. And quite frankly, I think it's less likely that there will be any type of conflict in the region with President Trump at the helm.
And finally, in Greece we had some ambiguous reactions on the announcement of the new ambassador, Mrs. Kimberly Guilfoyle. And it's the second time in a row that the US sends a person as the ambassador to Greece that is not a member of the diplomatic force. Do you have an explanation on that?
I think Greece is a country where many people want to be ambassador to. I mean, it's a beautiful island, beautiful people, beautiful culture. And so it is one of those, I think, plum positions that many people actively try to get appointed to. And so I think that's probably why you haven't seen a foreign service individual, but somebody who's politically connected, get that title. Look, what I think is really important is that regardless of who the ambassador is, that members like me in Congress have access to that individual, and we can work united to advance the relationship between the United States and Greece. The last two ambassadors, by the way, one was part of the Foreign Service, one was politically appointed, Payet as well as Tunis, both good friends, both did a great job. And I believe the ambassador that he has appointed will continue that work to build and strengthen the relationship. And I hope to have as strong a relationship with her as I've had with the previous two ambassadors.
Congresswoman Malliotakis, thank you very much for being with her tonight.
Thank you.